This is my second time recording this video. The first time I recorded it, I accidentally deleted it. Pissed, but the show must go on. So this video for the second time is about the older generation and the younger generation and the differences. I was thinking about this over the week about what's going on and how both sides of the spectrum is taking it. I feel like the younger generation is kind of lost in the sauce and the older generation has ties to the system, so they're just like trying to scramble and find another talking point to divert the energy of coming together as a collective and doing for self to try to embed themselves deeper into the system that just keeps on rejecting them. So with the older generation, I find that they don't necessarily want to go against the system because, like I said, they are invested in the system. They have 401ks, they have vacation, they have retirement, they have titles, they have mortgages, they have bills. They're not going to go against the system. If they were, they would have done it. Versus this generation, they're kind of lost. Like I said, they don't really know how to go about it, but they know whether they come out of college or they come out of high school, there's no place for them. They can get a job if they're lucky to get a job, and then on top of that, it's a quality job. Could the job pay for their lifestyle? And you're finding out, especially with this generation, the young black generation, that it's not. Like, you may find a job, but the job is, it's not enough money that you could save up for a house. It's not enough money so you could put in the bank. It's just enough so your bare minimum is covered. And this is what I find disparaging, because the older generation had time to save up money, where the dollar was stronger, where they could make a difference, where they could have their own thriving communities, like you see with the Asians with Chinatown, and you see with the Arabs with the gas stations, the liquor stores, the corner stores. What was black people during those times of moving and shaking? We have to be that change, because you see how it's difficult for us now. Imagine when you have grandchildren, how's it going to be for them? You see, back then people were catching nooses. Now we're catching bullets. And the older generation, what they're invested is in swirling more and being apologetic for your blackness, making your blackness easily consumed, in the sense of, oh, well, if you're black and you straighten your hair and you speak this way and you go to this university, maybe, just maybe, they'll like you. And that's what they're betting their horse on. And you see with us, we don't want to conform anymore, because we see the more we conform, the less likely we are to be taken seriously in the system. No matter if you have natural hair or straight hair or tall or short, light skin, dark skin, educated, uneducated, you find the same dilemmas. So with this generation, I really wanted to take into consideration that we have to do for self. We cannot rely on a system that hates us to support us, to give us jobs. And to be honest, it's not their job to give us jobs. I mean, yes, I do believe they have to give us reparations, but if we have no power to enforce it, if we have no economy to enforce it, all you're doing is running your mouth. I mean, power only respects power. Money talks and bullshit walks. And you see a perfect example of this in Missouri with the Mizzou University, where the team was basically like, if you don't get the president out and this racism doesn't quiet itself down, we're not going to play. Now, before the football players even got on the struggle, it was the black people in the universities, it was the black students who went out there and was getting the word out there. It was out there, people knew about it, but nothing was changing. It wasn't until the cash cow, which is the football team, said, okay, we're not going to play until the president steps down, that change really happened. Money talks, bullshit walks. So when the money was in jeopardy, the university said, okay, we'll take you seriously. And that's what black people have to use as a bargaining chip. We do have money, but we spend it on the wrong things, and we don't have an economic base. We don't have our own stores. We don't have our own thriving black communities. We have businesses in the black community, but they're not black owned, they're not black operated. So what we need to do is use our bargaining chip, which happens to be the athletes. I mean, imagine if every situation, every incident of racism or white supremacy, where a cop shoots a person or someone is falsely accused of something, and whatever sports team, whether it be college, professional, high school, said, if this doesn't change, if the person doesn't get prosecuted, if this person doesn't face any charges, this person doesn't end up in prison, then we're not playing. How much of a big statement would that be? But I feel as if that's not going to happen until black people get on the same page and black people come up with an agenda. Everybody has, you know, when you see those shows and the chick's like, oh, I thought you loved me. You said you was going to leave your wife for me. You said that you were going to start a family with me. Why won't you leave her? I'm so sick and tired of this. I feel like black people are that mistress in the sense of, you know, the system doesn't like you. You know, the system has been corrupted from the start. You know, the system is thriving off of our oppression. Yet you feel the system has to incorporate you. You feel as if you whine enough, you complain enough, you show empathy and sympathy that they will eventually conform. I'm like, slavery happened for 400 plus years. Nothing changed until the South said they wanted to break from the Union and the North was like, no. That's when things changed. South was more powerful than the North because they were making more money than the North. No, this is not a history lesson. But the point is, again, money talks and bullshit walks. We need to not rely on a system that hates us. It doesn't make sense. You see with us, we get the worst of everything, whether it's unemployment, whether it's healthcare, whether it's education, because we do not have our own. Other communities, they have a country to back them. They have, let's for example, Chinatown, they're Asians. Asians have China. They back them up. We don't have any country that backs us up, and we don't have an economy base, so we need to have an economy base. We cannot make rules and regulation in someone else's house. We have to come with our own. And how do we come with our own? We have to have our own money. We have to have our own economy. We have to stand on our own 2 feet. We're all adults. You cannot accept another adult to take care of you. That's just ridiculous. And I feel like black people are expecting that if we tug on the morality aspect, eventually people will change. And I'm like, no, people will not change. You have to come with them stronger. And what makes people adhere to your agenda is money. Money talks. So with black people, especially with this generation, do not bullshit and party your life away. Your life is precious. Your life is the difference between what I believe, Malcolm Little and Malcolm X. Your choice. The choice is yours. And it's sad because you don't have that guidance, most likely than not. You don't have that guidance. You don't have an older generation that you can turn to and say, you know, what are the moves? What are the mistakes? What are the advice you could give me? The older generation is going to tell you, look, play your position, play your part, don't be too radical, don't be too X, Y, and Z. Be like me. And you don't want to be like them. Because if they really were a shining example, you wouldn't be asked out in the streets. You wouldn't have to start from zero. You would have had generational wealth. You would have had someone looking out for you, and you don't. This generation doesn't. And I think that's what enables us to be kind of reckless, because it's like, who got me? Ain't nobody got me. I have to have myself. And the best way of having yourself is to be able to feed yourself, clothe yourself, house yourself. And that's the importance of having your own economic base, having your own job. So you don't have to put up with your slick comic co-workers and your stress-inducing boss and the white supremacist corporations. You have your own. And it's not universal in the sense of it includes everybody. Not everybody in my generation are lost and partying and bullshitting their life away, and not everybody in the older generation is conforming, but more often than not you see them conforming. Like those Trump girls, they had no problem going to Trump's rally talking about build that wall and yes, these United States, and go for Trump. And I'm like, have you not read his comments? Have you not heard the words that come out of his mouth? This man is clearly racist. He's clearly a bigot. He's all types of is, but you think he should be the president? If you think things are bad now, if he becomes president, we go right back to 1930s. I never lived in 1930s. And I don't want to live in the 1930s because it wasn't good. So I don't advise for black people to jump on other people's bandwagons when we don't even have wheels for our own. And I see it. I see the struggle. Like back then it was nooses. Now we're catching bullets and we are paying for it. This generation is paying for it more than any other generation because they're coming after the young. And they are bolden. Back then it was more covert, meaning it was hidden. Well, back then it was more overt, meaning that it was more bold. Now it's covert, slowly coming out. Now you see people have no qualms killing, no qualms saying racist things. There's no PC. When it comes to black people, it's let it all out. Let all your anger, your racism, your slick comments out, because there's nothing holding, there's no type of punishment. And with an economic base, you can reward those who pursue your agenda, and you can punish those who go against your agenda. But when you don't have an economic base, all you can do is complain and march. And black people have not gained any power, any wealth by complaining and marching, so it doesn't work. So we need to see what works for us, and a clear example of what worked for us recently was what happened in Mizzou with the football players. That's my video. If you agree, let me know. Comment, rate, subscribe, share. Have you experienced anything like this? Have you experienced the older generation telling you just play your part and be a good little Negro? Have you seen that this generation are making any moves, any strides? Do you feel like they're just partying and bullshitting their life away? Are you the older generation or the younger generation? So please let me know. And be blessed, and I'm out.